Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about freedom beyond the checklist. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a thinker, and luckily, I have Latoya here who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much, Latoya, for sharing your time and your perspective. So, when you hear those words, freedom beyond a checklist, what does that make you think about?
Immediately, I go into like true freedom. When I think of a checklist to me says like something that's been prescribed, something that someone else has laid out for you, or even in your overthinking self, right? You've laid these things out for yourself, and it's like, okay, got to check the box, got to check the box, got to check the box, which is the opposite of freedom. Because in true freedom, we are not concerned at all about checking any boxes, right? We're just concerned about showing up and being in the moment and enjoying life. So that's kind of top of mind for me.
Yes, I agree. Like I was one of those people that was trapped by to-do list. You know what I mean? Like I know that like I had a season of my life where I was focused and I felt good when I was able to check off that box like, "Ooh, I did that." You know what I mean? Like it gave me this sense of like, "Oh, you know what I mean? Like this joy." But then I felt so pressured when I didn't meet it. You know what I mean? I felt guilty. I felt stressed. I was frustrated. I was down and out on myself, like no tomorrow. Even my husband was like, Missy, you put way too much pressure on yourself. Like, this is unnecessary. So then what I started to do was like, I was like, okay, I'm done with the checklist. No more to do list. I'm gonna look at it totally different. I'm gonna flip the switch. What I'm gonna do is write down everything that I done for the day. So no matter how big or how small, I'm gonna write down what that is because so that acknowledges that I did something, I was productive, and that still validates that I'm still doing something pursuing to my end goal. You know what I mean? Because without it, I was just like nonchalant Betty that did not care about nothing. And I was just like, whatever, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I realized that was really unhealthy. So like I had to switch the flip for everything. So for you, when did you realize that that list was no longer over you?
Yeah, so what's really interesting is I learned early on that lists give me anxiety.
Mm,
For me, it literally isn't about how many tasks or how many steps or something. It is seeing it written down in list form with bullets, with category, like no matter how you put it down on the paper, right? Seeing it kind of all laid out like that literally gives me anxiety. And my way of adapting was to, because I think what happens is like we're taught, you have to write it down, you have to put down your goals, you have to do your daily list, right? And so for me, trying to adapt to that and live in that was the thing that was causing me stress. And so what
yeah.
happens when we make an adjustment, we tend to go all the way to the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not writing anything down. So now it's just this constant list in my head, but what that did was not necessarily the most efficient use of time, right? Because it's like whatever pops up, that's what I'm doing next. Even if that's like me jumping from place to place. And so I think probably while I was at my current, well, I just left my current job, so whole other story. But in my last job,
Yeah.
I think where I realized to find that balance between
Mm-hmm.
having to have things listed out because I had a team and people needed to know what I was doing as well without causing myself anxiety is kind of where I found the happy place for that. And
Yeah.
what I do now is I do like high level goal, like the high level task and not
Yeah.
like all of the little things. So if example, I'm planning a event,
Mhm.
literally my goal is plan the event.
I'm sorry. It's hilarious to me because it's so simple. You know what I mean? Like you made it so simple where it's just like, okay, what do I gotta do? Plan the task. All right, plan the task. You know what I mean? Plan the event. You know what I mean? So it really does make it simple. And I love the fact that you're so honest and was like, it gave me anxiety. Like, the bullet points. There goes that dash. There goes that
Yes.
extra section. Like, why are these all these sub levels? Like, I like to do the sub levels. I get in it. Like I did this and this and this and this. You know what I mean? It brought me joy. But no, I know what you mean because at the same time, when I had it already there, I was just like, what if I can't do it? And I just can't do all of that extra stuff. So yeah. And then I went through exactly what you did when you were talking about how there was no list. There was the list in my head, but like you said, I would just do the first thing that was there. Like, oh yeah, I do gotta do the dishes. Oh yeah, I do gotta sweep them out. Oh yeah, I should put away that laundry. Like, yeah, oh wait a second, maybe I should just go and clean the bathroom. Like all of these things would pop up in my mind, and it would be just like pop up windows, like just showing up. Like, oh, still need to do this, and you need to do this. So yeah, that was oh my goodness, that was so frustrating. So yeah, I feel you on that, Latoya. Oh my goodness. But the fact that now that you write it just one word and on your list, how does that make you feel now?
It actually makes me feel good because even kind of going back to your thing of like writing out what you did, like what you accomplished, right? So if on the list it's like plan the event, no matter what I did that day, I did something towards that goal, right? If I made one
Yeah.
phone call, if I did, so it's like every day I accomplished something.
Yeah.
So I still get that sense of accomplishment without the sense of the dread and the overwhelm and all of those things. So for me, that really, really works. The challenge or the struggle where I still have is again when I have team,
Mhm.
and where I found to kind of, work that out is I do what I call like brain dump, because some people need lists. And if that's you, be great. Right. And so what I do is
Yeah.
I'll basically say, I'll speak it. Hey, this is everything. Organize it how you need. Check back with me when you need me. But I can't give it to you as a bullet. I can't do those things because what happens also is once my mind says you automatically start to break down the subtask. And so then the
Yeah.
list never ends, right?
Yeah. Mhm. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Yeah, organize it how that is, however you do that, to go ahead and go on and do that. Like I that's hilarious to me because I know that is the truth. You know what I mean? You have to protect yourself, you know what I mean? And if that's how you know your mind and body works, like I applaud you for that. Because one, you know yourself well enough that
Yes.
I don't want to cross that line. So because I don't want to cross that line, let me just go to here. I'll go to the border. You know what I mean? I'll let you know what to do. But after that, make sure you're organizing it in a way that you get it done. However it needs to get it done. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So but it allows the other person to create that freedom and that understanding for themselves as well. So you're
Yes.
actually helping other people develop how they need to work in their lives. You know what I mean? Because some people do list. So they'll say everything that you say, do those sub levels, do all of those categories, and be like, okay, now I know, no, 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 no. Okay, boom. And those analytical individuals have a great time. But all of those other people on the other side of that of that braid scale, you know that you need that freedom to move around as you need to because your brain moves in a way that doesn't like those numbers and that rigidness. You know what I mean? You need that flexibility because it's going to get done one way or another because your determination is valid. You know what I mean? Your determination is still there. And I think that's one thing that I love is that we can have this conversation and bring that freedom to whoever's listening, knowing that you got it. You don't really need that checklist. You know what I mean? If it's, you know what I mean? No matter what time you listen to this, it could be right in the beginning of summer and school's out and all. Now you don't, you really don't need the checklist. You know what I mean? Or you're going back to school and now you, okay, I'll get the checklist, but then you have a different understanding with it. You know, you have a different relationship with it and you start seeing it differently. You know what I mean? So it's like my question to you is how do you move around in life in a way that you feel organized?
Oh, you know what's really funny about this question is I often joke like with my clients. I'll say, yeah, because I'm not organized. And this was one of my coaching clients. She's been with me since like 2020. So
Mhm.
along so she knows all of the quirks and the idiosyncrasies and all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And like our last call like a month ago, she was like, Dr. Latoya, you always say you're not organized, but you are. You're just organized for your, like, it's the way that works for you. She was like, because if you weren't organized, you wouldn't be able to have a business, to manage your kids, to have a job. She was like, there's no way you cannot be organized and do those things. And so what her saying that, what it did was trigger in my mind. I'm all about like identifying where we're operating in societal expectations and programs. And I was like, wait a minute, I put one on myself, right? Because I am perceiving my organization through what somebody else would perceive as organized. But she's
Yeah.
absolutely right, right? I
Mhm.
am highly efficient, so there must mean
Mhm.
that there is some semblance of organization. But I think for me, because I'm circular, like my brain is circular and like all of the things, right? I can't keep a linear thought if you paid me to, right? And so I think because I was using that as the standard,
Yeah. Yeah.
then I was like, no, I'm not organized. But no, I think for me, what I
Mm.
do at the start of the day is I kind of big picture visualize by the end of the day, what do I want to have done? You know,
Yeah.
so if that's like my house clean, and I don't go through this, it literally is just like me visioning, okay, I'm gonna make breakfast, I'm gonna take the kids to school, I'm gonna do it. So it's like really putting the image of my day in my mind, and then I wake
Yeah.
up and I go forth and I do it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that because we don't realize that's still productivity because you're right. We go about this identification or label by somebody else's point of view because that's what we were always taught. Like, oh, if you are organized, then you look like this, and this. Or if you're a good human being, then you look like this, and this. And if you have good grades, then you would do this, and you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, because whenever you fill in the blank, you could add in somebody else's voice,
Yeah.
somebody else's words, somebody else's opinions and thoughts about how it should look like. But in reality, if you are safe, you are fed, you are secured, and you have a good peace environment, then you're okay. You know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
worry about the little things. And I love the fact that you're just like, I had to hear it from somebody else because I didn't even realize it was happening because we really don't. We really don't realize it until like we either speak it out and then have that like light bulb moment, like, oh, okay, then yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? And then you have that like mini inner convo with while talking to somebody else. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a real thing because we can't devalue our who we are and how we operate through our work because we don't have anything written down on our calendar or we don't have anything written down on our to-do list, but we were moving all day and we weren't laying down on the couch, or you know what I mean, like we were actually physically on the go doing something, then that still holds value, you know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of people lose their identity because of that. So it's like for you, it's like, how do you necessarily recommend or suggest for somebody to maintain their value?
I think it's important to understand how you best operate. So, like removing what other people have told you
Yeah.
to do, but really like think back to that moment in your life where
Mhm.
you've either felt the most productive, right? Or you
Yeah.
felt um productive and happy. Right, because you could have been productive and not happy. So let's bring those things together, right?
I like it.
Yes. Where you felt the most productive and you were happy, and then say, what did I do? There's this person that says success leaves clues, right? And so you go back to the time where you felt like you were successful, not other people thought that you were successful, right? But where you truly felt that. And then you ask yourself, in this space, what did I do? What did organization look like for me? Did I write it down? Did I do high level? Did I do bullets? Did I voice memo myself? I am notorious for a voice memo at this point in life, right? Like, what did I do? And then that's the system that you start with. And it might take iterations and shifts, right? And I think the thing that's important for people to know is that you have to give yourself grace and know that we don't build the system in a day. It's
Yes.
like you, particularly if you've been locked into one mode or a way of doing something in the past, as you go to deconstruct that, right, you're not going to land at the perfect next version
Yeah.
instantly, and even what looks perfect, I mentioned, so now I've left my job, and so now I'm fully working for myself and with my kids. And so now literally this whole week has been me trying to figure out what the new flow is, what makes
Yeah.
sense, what works, what doesn't work. And what I do is allow myself at the end of the day to not beat myself up. It's really like assessment. Okay, when you went here, that worked, but this place was too loud, that didn't work. Okay, when you took your notebook and your laptop, that was productive, but when you did this, that, so it's literally me giving myself space to figure out what is going to work in this new chapter of my life.
Yeah, I love that because we need to remember to give ourselves that grace. You know what I mean? Because that's basically what you did. You
Yes.
gave that yourself the grace to figure out a new flow, find out where it's flowing, you know what I mean, like a water
Yes.
passing and like losing its way from its creek or its ocean. Where it's doing, it's creating its new flow, and then it creates its new path. As long as it's consistent, it will create a new path and find its way back home. And that's basically what you're doing. You're finding that way back home. You're finding that reconnection where it just feels right, where the kids are adjusted correctly, where you know what I mean, where even your mind and space is
Yes.
directed correctly, where you can
Yes.
find that moment of peace and clarity. You know what I mean? Like I feel like every day, if I can find at least 5 minutes to find that peace and clarity, know where I'm at, know what I just did, know what I'm doing, then I know that I'm okay. You know what I mean? Because it makes me grounded and makes gives me that sense of like I'm present, I'm
Yes.
aware, I'm not too far in the future and I'm not too far in the back, and I'm not too distracted
Yes.
or leading myself into a chaotic maze of nonsense of overthinking, because that's also an option. You know what I mean? Like we
Yes.
don't realize that we can go in the past and we can go in the front. We can even cause chaos that's been happening right now in our present moment. You know what I mean? So it's just like when we just acknowledge what's happening right now in this moment, it's like you really gain that control and you truly find that empowering moment, because that grace really does allow you to know that come tomorrow it's going to be better. So tomorrow you make those little tweaks, you make those little adjustments,
Yes.
and it really makes you excited for the next day, because you know it's really not the list that's motivating you. You know it's not really the chaos of your life that's motivating you. You know
Mhm.
that you are truly disciplined and obedient in yourself and your goals, that really makes you like stand out and shine. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why you have your clients that you do. You know what I mean? Because they truly make you remember who you are. Like Latoya, know who you are, girl. Oh,
Yes.
but it sucks because time is catching up to us, and I love talking to you. I feel like I could keep talking to you for hours on end about so many different topics. But what can be your lasting words to truly leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Yeah, I think, when we're talking about freedom, right, beyond the list, what I really, one of the things I always tell people is don't be afraid to take up space, right? I think
Mm,
that freedom comes when you give yourself permission to take up space. And sometimes taking up space says that I can't conform it to this list.
mm,
The two, like confinement and freedom, don't necessarily go together. And so I think that as we move forward and try to live in the energy of finding freedom, living in balance, having that peace, that if you remember that it's okay to take up
mhm.
space, even if other people don't agree with what your space looks like, as long as it feels good to you.
Yeah,
And you are able to, the thing is, like, each day you get to make a new choice, right?
yeah.
So you did something today, it didn't work, you didn't like it, didn't feel good, you have another opportunity to make a different choice. So let's live in freedom and take up space.
Yes, I love that because we really don't take up space. Like I know people that are just even afraid to just be in space. You know what I mean? Be in their own body, you know what I mean? Be in
Yes,
their own in moment, the present moment in
yes.
itself. You know what I mean? And it's really sad because man, it's so beautiful. You know what I mean? Life is so amazing. The opportunities that we have is truly amazing. And unless we give ourselves that space to
Hmm.
just be whatever that needs to be in that space,
Yes.
man, nothing can go wrong. You know, that's like your safe space. You know what I mean? That's really like a safe space to be you. If it's to cry, then cry. If it's to scream, then scream. You know, if it's the wiggle and dance, wiggle and dance, you know what I mean? Like nobody's really watching you. And if people are watching you, who cares? Like I remember one time I was dancing in my car because I was enjoying the music and the guy in the car next to me was just looking at me all crazy. But then another guy behind him, he was like, "Oh yeah, get to it." You know what I mean? So it's like you don't know who it is. Like find the right people. So
Yeah.
I think that's the best part. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, go check out Latoya. I have access to her website, and lordy, does she have some great content. Oh, she's a coach. She writes her blogs, and she has so many great books, not just for us adults, for children too. And even she has coloring books. Like, goodness gracious, we love some coloring books. So come on now. There's so much great content on Latoya's website just so that you can continue on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.